He is one of the youngest fighters in professional boxing, but by no means is he here to make up the numbers. In today's podcast, I speak to come forward, hard-hitting, lightweight prospect, Gregor Macpherson. Well, Gregor Macpherson, welcome to the Journey Home podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Gregor, you're very young to pro boxing. Tell me your route into the sport.
I was actually a pro youth football player before I even started boxing. So it was always football growing up as a kid. Then one day I just felt like I wanted something different, wanted to try something different. So my dad used to be a boxer. So he was like, why don't you try boxing? Went to the local boxing club, enjoyed it. And I was like, I want to take it further. I want to maybe start fighting. So we got a fight lined up and then just started from there.
You said your dad was a boxer. Had he boxed as an amateur, or was he also a pro, or what did he do?
Yeah, he was an amateur boxer, so I think he boxed up until he was about 35. So he had
Here
a lot
in
of
the
experience.
Northeast?
Yeah, at Aberdeen Boxing Club.
So did you box at Aberdeen ABC, or did you go to a different club?
I boxed at two different clubs. So I started off at Byron Boxing Club, and then my last couple of fights I went to Kane Boxing Club.
And both clubs have an incredible reputation.
Yeah, they're both good clubs. A lot of good boys, and you see it every time they go to the Scottish, picking up golds. So it's good.
It's astonishing the level of quality that comes out of those two clubs.
Yeah, and because it's Aberdeen, for Aberdeen, it hasn't really been a fighting scene for a long time. So to see so much people getting into boxing now, it's really good.
It is. I mean, before this current group, you lads, really the last big fighter was Lee McAllister in the town, and now we've got this scene where there's a group of you that are filling the beach ballroom.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I love fighting at the ballroom, just getting about 850, 900 people there, filling it, sold out venue, there's nothing better.
I watched one of your fights today at the ballroom, and you had a big crowd there,
Yeah.
It must be such a buzz.
It is. I mean, I wouldn't change it, You get everyone screaming your name. You feel good. You go in the ring, raring to go. And then, obviously, when you get the win, you feel even better.
Of course. Do you get to choose your own ring music?
Yeah. So we had like a debate before my pro debut on what it was going to be. So I was like, should it be like an Eminem song? And then I remember I was watching a video on YouTube about Gennady Golovkin, and the music with that was Seven Nation Army. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I love Gennady Golovkin, and I like that song. It went well. And I was like, I might try it with my ring walk. And then once the song went on, and everyone's singing, "Oh, Gregor Macpherson," it just went perfect. And now I'm like, I'm never going to change it now.
Yeah,
so,
it was brilliant. It's such a difficult choice, choosing ring music.
Yeah, because I mean, it's either going to go really well or really bad. So, but no, I'm happy with my choice. Yeah. I'm not going to change it.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, you've got to the beach ballroom. We need to ascertain, how did you arrive at the beach ballroom? So your amateur career, you're at Byron, then you're at Kane. How many fights did you have, and what led you to being a pro?
So amateur fights, I had 16. I had, what was my record? I lost 3 of them. But it was like, from the start, I was chucked in the deep end, My third fight was a final in the elite championships. And I won that. I went on to the British and different competitions, and I picked up a lot of medals. So, I was doing well. And by the end of it, it was getting to the point where I was struggling to get some amateur fights. So I was like, I'm training year in, year out, and you're getting 1, maybe 2 fights a year. So it's kind of, disheartening.
It is.
So we went to Spain for a tournament. Then the tournament got cancelled as we were over there. So we were like, we may as well make the most of the weekend. We'll go to different clubs and get some sparring. So the club that we went to was Kiko Martinez, the former world champion. It was his club. So we were like, we didn't even realize he was there. So we asked for some sparring. I ended up getting some rounds with his chief sparring partner.
I thought you were going to say with him there.
Wow, hold on. We're getting there. So,
okay.
I think it was 6 rounds with his chief sparring partner. Done really well for myself. So we went back to the hotel. This was at about 12 o'clock. 4:00, I get a phone call from his coach. I want you to come in and spar Kiko tomorrow. So we were like 17-year-old getting to spar with a 2-time world champion. So I was like, of course. So the next day, go in the taxi to the gym. Kiko Martinez is standing there getting his hand wraps done. I'm just like, is this even real?
Were you the only sparring partner for him that day?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, from going from fighting in some hotel to 2 weeks later being Kiko Martinez's sparring partner,
Wow.
I was just like mind blown.
Did you learn a lot from him?
Yeah. I mean,
How did the spar go?
so we done like 5 or 6 rounds. First 2 rounds, I was like up on my toes, nice and light, a few jabs, and I was like, I'm feeling good. You know, I'm catching him. And then once I had about the 4th round, he started sitting down in his punches.
Oh.
And I was like, these are starting to get a bit tasty. But, you know, we done 5 or 6 rounds and he was like, you're a real talent, you stick in. So to hear that from someone who's been there and done it, you know, it's a confidence boost.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the mere fact that you could spar with him for that long, I mean, you know, most people, he would just fold them up and they'd be ruined in a round or two.
Yeah,
if you couldn't hold your own there, I mean, they wouldn't have asked you to come down if they didn't think you were half decent.
Yeah, that's the thing. So since then, we've remained really good friends and, you know, sparring partners still. So
You've been back out there?
yeah, I've been out 4 or 5 times now.
Wow.
So every time I have a fight, I go over, get some rounds with him. Now he's retired, so it's a bit tricky, but I've got the European champion over there, Juanfe Gomez. So I get rounds with him now. So, you know, that's another big fighter I'm getting rounds with. So
That's where you need to be.
it's class. You need to
I
be in
think
with
that
better
you're
people.
only as good as the people you actually train with.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
So I try to surround myself with people that's better than me because, you know, that's the only way I'm going to learn and get better.
Mm-hmm.
So having these guys around me is a game changer.
Mm-hmm. The lightweight scene's been pretty good in Scotland for a long time. Is there anybody in Scotland that you spar with?
You know what? A lot of my sparring is out with Scotland, actually.
Okay.
So like I go to Northern Ireland, Spain, London. So a lot of it's, you know, away from Scotland. But there is, as you say, a lot of good guys at lightweight division and different divisions in Scotland. We're starting to get good fighters now. We've always had good fighters, but there's more now, you know?
Well, your division is the division that Scotland's always excelled in. We've had Ken Buchanan, Jim Watt, Ricky Burns, and now you're in the division.
Yeah. So actually, speaking of Ken Buchanan, one of my coaches, Frank Gilfeather, he actually fought him twice.
Is that right?
So having
As a
someone
pro
like that
or?
in the amateurs.
Right.
So, but still, to share the ring with Ken Buchanan, you know, he's got a lot of knowledge. So it's good to have someone like that on my team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really good.
I met Ken a couple of times. Actually, there was he used to come to Arbroath
Okay.
when there was boxing shows on in Arbroath, and he would come and he'd bring all the belts and the boxing Hall of Fame ring.
Okay.
What a thing to have, you know, because there's only like 5 guys get inducted every year.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. That's a real loss that he passed away, Ken. But he was a great fighter. 15 rounds.
I know, unbelievable.
In he fought Ismail Laguna, 105 degrees Fahrenheit temperature, 15 rounds. Incredible. What a fit man.
Couldn't get that nowadays.
No, 15 hard rounds.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch back at old fights?
Sometimes. I mean, Frank always, you know, goes back to old fights, says like, oh, Sugar Ray.
Oh, Sugar Ray.
Like, you know.
Wait, Sugar Ray Leonard or Sugar Ray Robinson?
Robinson.
Okay.
And, you know, when you actually do look back at boxing in the olden days, like I say olden days, but, you know, back then, you know, there's some unbelievable fighters. He's, you know, completely different from today's boxing.
You wonder how those old fighters would fare in the modern fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at how styles have changed, you remember they used to hold themselves up like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Even like training methods, you know, they've changed over the years drastically. It's just interesting to go back and have a look at how they train, and then you see how we train nowadays. It's all machines and stuff, you know.
Yeah, what sort of modern training techniques do you use?
So a lot of it's like plyometrics, and if I'm doing boxing stuff, it'll just be like bag work, pads, but, you know, it'll be structured pad work, bag work, different, you know, kind of training. Then some weights, you know, I tend not to do a lot of weights, not heavy, but we do weights. So a lot of it's like strength and conditioning, you know. And then a lot of it's obviously boxing, sparring, stuff like that. So there's a good mix.
Are you running a lot?
You know what? Not really, no. So I don't do that much runs. I do more like hill sprints. I'm always at Bomedi and Broad Hill, running up the sand dunes and the stairs.
Do you enjoy that?
Yes and no. Depends how I'm feeling on the day. But I actually prefer Bomedi Beach sand dune sprints to the Broad Hill.
Okay.
I think Broad Hill is really hard. But again, you need to do what other people don't want to do.
So, I mean, we talked, so that's part of your training. You're doing, pads, you're doing hill sprints. I think hill sprints are probably just the best for getting you, your explosive power up and everything.
Yeah.
But is sparring only confined to the build up to a fight, or is there anybody you spar lightly with or regularly?
Well, because I'm quite an active boxer, I have just been sparring when I'm in camp, because there's been like...
You're in camp a lot.
Yeah, 2-3 months apart from a fight, So I was fighting in January. I had a injury in March. I was out in June, back out in September, so there wasn't that much time to go away and do what I want. It was just a case of go enjoy myself for a week and then back to training. Once I'm back in camp, that's when we start getting the sparring. So, I am sparring quite often.
What about outside of camp? I mean, how much time do you get out of camp? Do you chill out when you're out of camp? Do you stop training completely, or do you keep a certain level of fitness up? Or
see, that's my problem. I don't know when to stop. I'm always training. So like after my last fight, we went to Dubai to chill out, but I ended up in a gym nearly every day, doing pad work. I went
enjoy
over.
that?
Oh, that's how I chill, I want to go to a boxing gym, skip, hit the bag, hit the pads, get a few rounds in. Like, I enjoy doing that. So
when you look at Mayweather, he's a bit like that. He's always in the gym. He always seems to just walk about at the weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he's obsessed with, or it's not obsession. I don't think it's obsession. It's what you enjoy.
Yeah, it's passion. I'm like that. I'll sit at my weight. I try not go up and try to kill myself to get back down on weight. I'll keep like maybe 2 or 3 kilos just above, nothing more. And then, because when I go back into camp, it's easy to get back down, I'm still in tip-top shape. So, yeah, I like doing that.
You mentioned Byron, and a friend of mine is John Docherty.
Yeah.
And John, he amazes me that he managed to get down to the weights that he was at because of his height.
Very big for the weight, was he?
Yeah, very big for the weight. And, there's a couple of times I've seen him, you could see how dry he was in the mouth, trying to get down to the weight. Have you had any episodes like that where you've been really struggling to make the weight?
No, I haven't. Not in the pro game. I weigh in at 61 kilos. So as I say, I never really go over maybe 64. So while I'm in camp, it'll just be a case of get down to the fighting weight, stay there, train, eat well. So when it comes to, weighing day, I'm fresh. There's been like times where I've been able to drink a full bottle of water before stepping on the scales and that.
But because of that ease of getting to the weight, were you never attempted to go down another weight, or?
That was the case. I was going to go down to super featherweight, which is 59, but I was like, I'm absolutely ripped at 61, so I don't think there's much to come off, from 61 down to 59.
So you mentioned Frank there. He's coaching you. What about your conditioning? Who's responsible? Do you take that on? Is that your own responsibility, or does someone help you with that? Yeah,
well, my coaches, my dad, my other coach, Graham, they do the conditioning as well. And I was going down to Abertay University for a while before my injury. So they were doing like all these lab things, running on the treadmills, on the bikes, had all the monitors on my legs and that. So that was good. You find out a lot about yourself when you go down there.
What did you find out?
So it was just things like, you had to push yourself to the limit, and it tells you how fast.
Like your VO2 max?
Yeah, like it tells you how fast, you're losing oxygen and when you lose oxygen. So it was actually quite interesting because I lost oxygen completely and then I was still able to keep on going. So, they were like, that's amazing. And my recovery time's really good. I had really good times on the running machine, the bikes. So, I'd done really well.
That's a great thing when you go into a fight, because you know that you can then work at your max and you'll recover quite quickly.
Yeah.
Whether there's a break in the round or in between rounds.
That's it. So that's what we were working out, By the time you sit down in your corner you'll know when you're fully recovered. So, these guys, they're really smart. They know what they're talking about. So to have people like that on my team, I'm really grateful for that. So,
yeah, it gives you confidence because you know your own body. And in between rounds, then when you come out that you can go again.
Yeah.
At the same rate as you did in the last round. Mm-hmm. Have you felt like that the whole way through? Or have you come to a point, when you're sparring with Kiko, do you get to a point where, you're 8 rounds, 9 rounds in and it's like, I'm not recovering quite so fast now?
Yeah, definitely. When you're in with guys like Kiko, he doesn't take a backward step. So, you can move around, especially in the pro game. Like, you can't move around for 12 rounds. You're going to have to chill out at one point. And I found that out in my first fight. So I was jumping up and down, like an amateur style. And then once I hit about the 3rd round, I was like, I'm starting to get a bit tired now. But I've learned from that. And then from then, I've never had that problem,
Yeah, because the amateurs is really just full blast for 3 rounds.
That's it. You just give it all you've got for the 3 rounds.
I always think if you come out after 3 rounds and you're on your toes or you've got energy, what have you been doing?
Yeah, you haven't done enough.
If you haven't won and that's the case, then you've definitely not done enough.
Yeah. I mean, in the amateurs, my style was just come forward, all out attack.
Okay.
And in professional, it's sort of the same, but obviously you need to calm down. You're not supposed to be jumping about, especially when you get to the 8, 10, 12 rounds, You really need to think about, saving energy.
Speaking of your just the amateurs there, and the level you were boxing at, I'm guessing it wasn't just a straight line to success. There must have been losses in there, was there?
Yeah, so obviously I got off to a really good start. I think I was unbeaten for 5 fights, but then I won like the novice title, the open title. I won the semi-final at the British, and then I lost the British to a guy who's just been signed by Matchroom or something, on the TV. He's really good. Mm-hmm. So, but at that point I had like 5 or 6 fights. This guy had 70, 80 fights, So really it was just the ring experience that I just didn't have, And the couple fights after that I lost as well, just due to ring experience. Had a lack of it, cutting the ring and stuff. But after that, I then won all my amateurs until I turned pro.
I'm interested just with the the loss thing. How did you take your first loss?
I was absolutely gutted, but my mentality is if I get beat, I'm back in the gym either that day or the next day. So, my dad was like, well done, you've done so well. You've achieved so much in such a little time. Go and enjoy yourself for a weekend. I was like, no, I'm going back in the gym and I'm going to, fix what I done wrong. And then the next fight, I won, then I got beat 2 fights in a row. Same again. It was just, right, back into the gym. We're going to make things right. And then it's put me in good stead.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's it. That's what makes you a winner, because you've taken a loss, and sometimes they say a loss is good for you because it makes you realise what you need to improve.
Yeah, well, I take something away from every loss that I've had. The 3 losses, I've taken away something good, whether it's a skill they used against me or how they moved their feet. I still use it to this day, some of the things. So
have you ever been hit with a shot where you're like, how the hell did that just happen? How did I just get hit by that? Where did that come from? Some guy just landed something and you're like, what the
Kiko.
Right.
Kiko hit me an overhand right, and I was just like
didn't see it coming.
That's it. That's an annoying thing. I did see it coming, but he hits everyone with it. So I was moving around, as I say. I was nice and light on my toes, working the jab. I was doing really well, and I was like, I'm actually doing better than I would have thought. Then out of nowhere, just round 4 comes in, nice and tucked in, overhand right. He missed. He done another couple, then he hit me right in the chin. I was fine, but see, a couple hours later, I was struggling to eat.
Really?
My jaw was so sore. I was just like, that guy's got power.
Is he the hardest hitter you've ever come across?
Yeah. Because he says to me after the spar, the shot I hit you with, I hit Kid Galahad with. And obviously, he put Kid Galahad to sleep. And he was like, you've got a good chin, but the rest of the week, my jaw was in bits. I was like, this is so sore.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a very strong guy.
Yeah. So, and Has he taught you the overhand right the way he uses it, or?
Well, you know what, he actually has been.
Has he?
Every time I go over to Spain, you know, he spends a lot of time with me, so I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, he's been teaching me some things, and you know, I've tried them in fights and they've worked. So, you know, to have someone of that caliber on your side, it's really good.
It's amazing how, like, you knew that he threw that punch, but he could still land it. And it's a bit like Saul Alvarez. Like, he throws that right hand, and there's all these videos of him doing it in training, and he can still do it in a fight.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that he's going to throw it, but he lands it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, also about Kiko, he's the hardest working guy I've ever met. You know, he had these beads, and it was like rows of 10 beads, and it was like shadow boxing. Once he'd done one round, moved one. 10 rounds, went on to the next row. Bag work. 10 rounds, sparring. And the sparring, he had a different partner every 2 rounds. So there's like a fresh guy going in every time. And you're just thinking, how are you not gassed yet?
What was he initially? Was he actually training for a fight at this point for that?
Yeah.
Who's he fighting?
He was fighting Jordan Gill.
Okay.
So again, really good boxer from England. And then I think it was a 12 round fight, 10 or 12 round fight, 4 rounds, and Kiko won. You know, just all them power shots. Really strong, fit guy.
So you mentioned injuries. Is that the thing that bothers you the most? What's happened with injuries?
So I've had 2 main injuries. The first one was at the start of the year. I had a spinal fracture. So they reckon that was just from overtraining. So I was out for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks. But I went to the Caribbean, so I was kind of chilling. So it wasn't that bad.
Nice.
But the one that I've just recently recovered from, the collapsed lung, I'd say that's been worse.
Hold on a minute there. A collapsed lung.
Yeah, so basically...
This is from a punch?
No, that's a weird thing. So I woke up it was a Tuesday morning, woke up and I went into the gym to do some personal training with some of the guys, teach them how to box. So I was holding pads, and then all of a sudden I just get this, like, you know, sore, tight pains in my chest. And I was like, right, okay, we'll stop that for a second, go back on the bag. And I was just like, something's not right here. Then my cousin, he plays tennis. So he was like, oh, we arranged this weeks ago for me to go play tennis with him. So I'm holding my chest. He's hitting these things like Andy Murray, and I'm like, oh, just, you know, just getting
Do you
them.
think it's your lung, or do you think it's muscular at this point?
I thought it was just like, you know, I didn't know what it was, but I just knew something was wrong. So I told him, I was like, I might need to stop. He's like, oh, you might just pull the muscle in your chest, keep on going. So I was like, okay then. So I was in like so much pain. Yeah, kept on going. Then it got to the point where I was like, right, I need to stop now. Then I met up with my girlfriend at lunchtime. I was like, I'm in so much pain right now. And she was like, go to hospital now. And I was like, no, because I've got classes to do at night and I've got a session of my own. So I started training on my own. Bearing in mind, it's probably collapsed about 9 o'clock in the morning. Now like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, still training.
Wait, did you not notice that you were knackered?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I came back from Dubai not that long ago, like just before it happened, sorry. And I was training over there. Everything was fine. So I was like, there's no way that I've lost that fitness since then. Because like I'm fit as it is, you know? So I was like, something's definitely up, and I can still feel the pain. It's getting worse. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go finish my work, and then I'll go up to the hospital. And then finished work, and it was like late at night. I was like, do I just go to bed? I was like, no, better not. Went up. After hours of waiting, they done a chest x-ray, and then they were like, yeah, straight into surgery. Try, you know, get it back up. So
wow.
I just thought it was like, you know, like a little bit of chest pain, you know, tablets, and it'll be fine. All of a sudden, going through resuscitation, seeing like all the, you know, knives and everything, and I'm like, oh no. I was like, so yeah.
Did they have to put you under an anaesthetic to have it reinflated?
Yeah. I thought I was going to get put to sleep, so I was like, oh, what's going on? Like,
how do they reinflate it?
Well, they put a tube in my lung, and then
through your throat, or
no,
through the side,
cut into the side. So I was like, oh, am I getting put to sleep? And they're like, no, we don't have time. And I was like, oh, great. So I was like half like in it, half out. And I was
So you
just
got like a
going,
local anaesthetic.
yeah. And then, so I just turned my head and about, well, what I thought was 10 minutes. He's like, right, that's you done. I looked down and there's a tube in my lung going into like a basin of water. And I was just like, what has just happened? I was like, all in 10 minutes. I looked up at the clock and it's been an hour and a half. And I'm like, oh my God. So at this point, my dad didn't even know that it happened. So I just went up with me and my girlfriend. And then obviously this was about 2:30 in the morning, supposed to have work at 6 in the morning. And then I phoned him. I was like, well, I didn't phone him. My girlfriend phoned him because I couldn't speak. She was like, your son's in hospital. He just came out of an operation. You better come up. So he shot up. He was all nervous and worried, so as he would be. But yeah, it was a mental 4 days.
So the collapsed lung, do they know what causes it?
So they says it's quite common in tall, skinny men. So I was like, okay. I thought it would have been the opposite, someone that's, doesn't train or anything. They're like, yeah, athletes get it quite a lot. And I was like, so what's actually caused it? And they're like, well, you haven't been punched or anything. So it was probably a cough or a sneeze. And I remember coughing at 9 o'clock in the morning, like around about that time. And then I felt it after the cough.
Oh.
So I was like, a cough started this. And I was like, that's crazy.
Does that make you worry about ever coughing again? Because I would.
They said that my chances of getting it again are like 45%. So, but they says it shouldn't stop me from boxing or anything, After like the first month, you should be back to normal. So, I'm feeling brand new now. Back to training. So, yeah, they just says be careful.
That's really good that they said that. Whenever I've been to a doctor, I mean, when I was younger, your age, they would say, whatever it was, the answer was stop boxing.
Yeah.
It's always the answer at the doctor, because they never seem to approve of boxing.
Yeah. Well, they just said, be careful with sparring early on. Once it's all healed up and stuff, it was only keyhole, so it wasn't that much. They just said, just be careful, but it won't stop you from boxing. It won't stop you from taking body shots, so.
Well,
yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, body shots are horrific, horrible shots to take.
Yeah.
Have you ever been sickened by a body shot?
Touch wood. No.
No, never.
No.
You train the body hard.
Yeah, just do so much core exercises. Like I'll spend 45 minutes core exercises every day.
What's your favourite core exercise?
I like the ab rollers.
Ab roller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad, Tom, my coach, he made me do 150 today. So I'm feeling it just now.
Do you do it from your feet or on your knees?
Half on the feet, half on the knees.
Oh.
So
Wow.
I dread the ones on the feet. The knees aren't too bad, but the
Yeah.
ones on the feet are brutal.
Do you know what I used to hate is those, the suspension trainers? Like you suspend your feet from the ceiling and then you kind of like pull in, you tuck in.
Okay.
Oh, they're horrible as
Yeah.
well. Because you don't have the stabilization of having your feet on the floor. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of engaging the core at the sides as well.
Yeah.
I used to hate that with a passion. It was the best. I felt it was like the thing that hit the most, especially in the solar plexus area.
Yeah.
But I really never enjoyed that at all. I used to hate doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So preparing the body. What about mental prep? Like in the lead up to a fight, how do you remain mentally, or how do you get mentally prepared?
I feel like my mentality, I've got quite a strong mental state, I'm always, focused on whether it's a fight or sparring trips, so I don't really need to get myself into that state of mind. I feel like, I'm quite good with all the mental side of things.
You can remain relaxed going into a fight?
Yeah. So like so my first fight, I was quite nervous because what a lot of people don't know is my first pro fight was my first senior fight. So that's first time with no head guard, first time fighting 8-ounce gloves, obviously first time fighting pro with all that people at the ballroom, sold out show. So for like an 18-year-old, it's quite, quite intimidating coming out to that crowd. But I felt, once I heard the crowd and stuff, that relaxed me for some reason. Usually when you hear the crowd, you go, oh, I'm a bit nervous now. I was the opposite. I was really nervous in the changing room. Then when I went out, I was fine.
How does it feel boxing with 8-ounce gloves on?
Oh, they're really small.
Do you feel your hands are moving faster?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I do like my pad work with 8-ounce gloves, and obviously the sparring with the 16s. But what a difference from sparring gloves to fight night gloves. Just tiny. But as you say, you know, you can feel the punches go much faster, more accurate because they're such a small glove, you know.
Do you get a choice of the glove, or do you have to wear what you've been given?
Sometimes. So usually you just get, you get a couple options, different colours. Just depends, because sometimes you're in a changing room with other people. Because I'm lightweight, I'm 8-ounce. I think it's when you go over welterweight, you go 10-ounce. Can't really remember. But obviously you've got the 8-ounce gloves, you've got the 10-ounce gloves. So my first and second fight, I didn't really get an option. I was just like, there you go. My last 2 fights, though, I got the option. They're really good gloves, the ringside gloves. So I rate them. They're really good.
Yeah, because you would have gone from, in the amateurs, what, a 12?
10-ounce.
You were 10-ounce.
But they're really padded.
They're
like
bulbous on the knuckle area.
Yeah, so it's completely different to like a pro 10-ounce, you know?
I had a set of those Cleto Reyes gloves.
Yeah.
They're horrific.
Yeah, I've got a pair of them, but I actually prefer the ringside.
I think the Reyes gloves actually stopped me boxing.
Yeah.
Because I had this endless hand problem in my left hand, and I think it was the Reyes gloves, because it's like a flat piece of foam. Mm-hmm. It's not bulbous on the end.
Yeah.
And I was mashing the bags with these gloves, and just not enough protection for the hand, really.
Yeah, well, when I was over in Dubai, I bought a pair of the pro Platos. And I was like, oh, these look good. Tried them on. And then I was like, they're quite padded, and again, you could open your hand like that. Tried them on the bag and the pads, and I don't know, just didn't like them. So, bit of a waste of money, but...
Did they have laces?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a pain in the arse that you haven't, especially when you're training, you've got to lace them up all the time.
Well, all my gloves are laced.
Or are they laced?
So
Okay.
I just tie them up, so there's no excuse to, take the gloves off and do something. It's just keep the gloves on. If you need a drink, tell your coach, and then you're back in. So, yeah, I like the lace better because I feel like you get a tighter fit with your hand.
When you're hitting the bags, do you use a fighting glove, or do you use a bigger glove for that? Or
yeah, so I'll use pads, 8-ounce, bag, 8-ounce. If it's like a heavy bag, I'll go up. But yeah, I usually stay with the 8-ounce gloves.
What's your favourite bag? Heavy bag?
I like the wrecking ball bags. So you can do the uppercuts and hooks. It's like
a body shape kind of bag.
Yeah, sort of.
Or like a figure of 8.
No, just it's like a wrecking ball.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, is it filled with water though?
That's an aqua bag.
Aqua bags, yeah.
We've got a few of them. They're you hit them as hard as you can. It doesn't move.
They don't move.
You just feel like you're not hitting it hard enough. But they're really good bags as well.
What about this is a controversial one, but the overhead, the speedball.
I like the
the speedball. Do you like that? Do you use that?
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
Do you?
I do all the fancy tricks on them.
Yeah. I mean, I used to use one, and I kind of thought I mean, it gets your rhythm, I suppose, but I never felt like I had much of a workout on it.
Yeah. I mean, I usually just use it, cooling down after a session, or if I'm bored. Usually when I'm bored, I'll just, think of different things to do on it, different combinations. And when I first started, I didn't know how to use it. And now I can do so much different things on it, but it's just practice, same as everything else.
Do you use a skipping rope?
Yeah, I love skipping.
Do you?
Yeah, really like it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the sessions by doing 10, 15 minutes of skipping. So again, when I first started boxing, obviously coming from football, never really skipped. So going into the boxing club, tripping over the rope when everyone's doing all these fancy stuff, you're just like, wow. But then once you practice, you can then do that, So it's the same as everything else. If you practice,
you need to do some reels like that. Have you got any skipping reels like Floyd Mayweather?
I need to get some going.
Some real speed on the skipping rope. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah, it is cool to watch.
Yeah, I was always envious of the guys that could do the double unders. Do 30 or 40 double unders in one go.
Yeah,
just feel like maybe we'll be able to do one of them or two.
Yeah.
But you're a lighter guy. it's going to be like probably second nature to you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, once you do it for a while, you can start picking up different tricks to do, and then them things come easy. You just do them without thinking. Before, you'd be like, right, I'm going to do it in 3 skips time. 1, 2, 3. You fall over the rope. It is frustrating when you first start, but yeah, you just need to keep on going.
Does it help? Do you think it helps your boxing style, skipping?
I think it helps with bouncing your feet, being light on your feet, in and out of distance. So, and it's just good for, your legs moving around the ring, constantly on your toes. Because I think a lot of people who just watch boxing don't actually understand how much it takes out of your legs, constantly moving up on the toes, in and out, your calves. It is a lot. It's a lot of work.
So, like, I mean, we talked about running, right? You don't tend to run much other than sprints. Skipping, is there any other endurance type work? Do you swim? Do you cycle? Is there anything else that you would do?
I do swimming sometimes, but it's not to the point where I'm not a great swimmer, so I don't really swim that much. But what we do is we usually go to the running track. So what we do is we'll do 800 meters, and then a break. We'll do that 4 times, and then we do 5 100-meter sprints as fast as I can. That's like my track day.
What's your best time on the 100 meters?
Oh, don't. I've seen milk turn quicker than me, honestly. I'm so slow. I think it was like 15 seconds, something.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not the fastest, but I feel like over a long distance, I'm quite good.
I still think Usain Bolt would beat you in a race, but I think you'd beat him in a fight.
I'd like to think so.
I think you would.
Yeah.
Do you know something? There's a subject, right? I'm talking about a crossover, you fighting Usain Bolt. Did you watch Ngannou Fury?
No, I didn't. But I've heard a lot of people and a lot of opinions on it.
Well,
did you watch it?
I did. I watched it after. I didn't want to pay for it, but I just thought that Fury, to me, looked like a guy who thought, I know enough to beat this guy. I don't need to train.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people said to me. And just looked a little bit out of shape. Maybe
you could see what had happened. Yeah. You probably saw it in the amateurs. You can see a guy who's like well past it, but he's got knowledge and winning a fight just on knowledge. But it's not pretty to watch.
Yeah, I know. Like all these things, like in the clinch, like things like that. You pick up. Some guys, can win a fight, as you say, just off of experience. So. And they might not necessarily put a lot of work into it, so it's hard to take sometimes.
I watched a fight up in Dundee once. This guy, big lad, heavyweights, and the more experienced of the two, he was quite overweight. And what he would do is he would just blast the opponent right back into the ropes and then fall and lie on top of him until the referee told him to get off, and then just repeat it throughout the fight. So he would just like charge forward with a bunch of shots and then lie on his opponent. And that was just clever, ringcraft.
It is clever. Like Tyson Fury does it, imagine him leaning on you.
Oh my goodness.
It'd be an absolute nightmare. Oh. By the time he gets off you, you're knackered. Then he's going pop, pop, pop. Then he's away. It's just having that boxing brain to think of that,
His arms are so long as well.
Yeah. It's like his body shape's like really weird, but so effective, Big, heavy guy, long arms, but for being such a big guy, he moves like a middleweight, Good movement.
I know you're a lightweight and you're going to train with people of your own weight. Have you ever been in with anyone that's like even a spar with anyone that's like much bigger than you?
Not much bigger than me. I'd probably say the heaviest I've sparred is probably super welterweight, maybe light middleweight. Obviously, them guys have got some power, so. But it's good to be in with bigger guys. If you can take a punch from them, surely you can take a punch from the lightweights.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, it's good. I like being in with people that are better than me, stronger than me, bigger than me, because, you're never going to get the same opponent. Someone's going to come with a different tactic. Someone's going to be taller. Someone's going to be stockier. So you need to have the experience with people like that.
Have you noticed a big variety in your type of opponent that you fought?
So far, I'd say like my first opponent was come forward, throw a lot of punches. So for your first pro fight, you don't really expect that. He was coming to win, and we've remained good friends, So he was a lot coming forward. The other guys, they've been, maybe sitting back. A few other guys have had, good right hand, just loading it up. So there has been, a few different types of boxers I've fought already.
Journeyman boxers sometimes can be an absolute nightmare, though.
Yeah.
They come and they don't let you fight.
No.
Some of them.
The last guy, like, I was trying to catch him in the body. He's just so good at covering up. And, I'm hitting this guy with everything I've got. He's just going block.
But he's not throwing in him back.
I was getting through a few times, but, a lot of people underestimate journeymen. They just think,
I know.
They're just punch bags. But it's not that,
They don't want to get stopped because they need to get paid next week when they fight.
That's it, yeah.
And the thing is, you're training to fight a guy who's going to fight you. Mm-hmm. And these guys come up and they're so awkward that you're throwing shots at them, but they're not exchanging with you, which is what you've trained for. Mm-hmm. You've trained to fight a guy who's going to fight you.
Yeah.
It's very, very frustrating, but I suppose good for you because are you trying to learn how to break these guys down and try to pick them apart? And
yeah, that's it. I mean, you need to find the gaps in people's defense. So if you can, by just say if I was to go jab to the head, jab to the body, you take the hands down, then you remember that. You go, okay, next time, feint to the body, up to the head. So there's little things like that. And in camp, you're working on the body shots. When you're in close, how to, get them shots off. You do need to pick your shots because if you're hitting someone in the arms all day, they're gonna take that.
Have you got a favourite punch?
I like a jab. Like it's just,
classic
jab.
A good old jab.
I'm left-handed, but I fight orthodox.
All right.
I can fight southpaw, but I feel like I've got a strong jab, strong backhand. So
did you start off as a southpaw?
No.
You just went straight in as an orthodox
My
boxer?
dad's plan was to put me as an orthodox fighter, get me good at that, and then obviously because southpaw's natural, I could always revert back to that. So everyone was like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that, Tom? It doesn't make any sense. But now I can do both. So
do you switch it when you're in fights then?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Quite comfortably?
Yeah. It's like, I could go from orthodox and then one step, go back into southpaw, I feel it like it's just a natural thing to do now,
I was a southpaw.
Yeah.
But I tell you the one thing that I hated, other southpaws.
Yeah, I know. It's not great fighting a southpaw.
Even how southpaws hate southpaws.
Yeah.
It's
you just need to completely change up your fighting strategy.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you're southpaw, I was the only southpaw in the club, and then everybody I trained was sparred with was orthodox.
Yeah.
So if you get in with someone who's a southpaw, it's like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not used to this.
Yeah, that's it.
It's very confusing.
Even just where you place your feet, completely different to how you'd fight someone that's an orthodox.
Have all your opponents been orthodox so far?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
What's lined up? Have you got a fight coming up soon?
So, just now, there's nothing planned. Just because we're, coming back from an injury, we're just looking to get the fitness up, get back to normal. Then we'll get the sparring in. Then we'll get a fight date. So just now, it's just a case of getting my fitness up, getting back to normal, getting the weight back down. So, fight news, none yet.
Okay. Speaking of that, an upcoming fight, do you have targets in mind? Is it a man with a target on his back in your eyes?
No, I just take every fight by fight.
Are you? But in your spare time, are you looking at who's the British champion right now? Who's watching them, thinking one of these days I'm going to be having that title.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll watch boxing. I'll be like, I want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. But it's not just British champion. I want to go further than that.
Of course,
Yeah. But obviously, as I said, fight by fight. I never look past my next opponent.
Mm-hmm.
They're the next obstacle. So
the top of your division is the best division in the whole world right now.
Oh yeah, it's a really hard division.
It's the marquee division. I mean, I know people talk about the heavyweights and other divisions, but you've got Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, a lot of good guys
and class fighters in there. I mean, mind you, You're young. They'll probably be retired
I know.
by the time you get up there.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of people, they don't realize that you're still considered young when you're like 22, you know, in boxing. I'm only 19, just turned 19. So I've got plenty of time. You know, there's no need to rush me. Got plenty of time. Take it fight by fight. No point in taking silly fights early on, you know. Just see how it goes. Hopefully finish off. Well, I'm not fighting this year. Next year, I want to go unbeaten. A few good wins, look good, you know. That's the plan.
Do you hope to just box around Aberdeen and build up a fan base here, or are you looking to try and, do you want to box it elsewhere in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to box down in England at, like, you know, one of the big shows. Even just, you know, get myself out there. Like places like Glasgow, Edinburgh, you know, so you're getting different people, you know, going, oh, I didn't know that guy before. I'm going to follow him on Instagram. You know, I like his boxing. So, like, picking up different followers, supporters, you know.
It's funny you say that because I had Corey McCulloch on the podcast.
Yeah.
And after he boxed on the show down in Sheffield the other week, all of a sudden the podcast had a lot more listens.
Yeah.
Because he was televised, you know, and people obviously looked him up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, my fight in June, Corey was actually in the changing room before I was about to fight.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we spoke a little bit. Corey's a nice guy. You know, I think he was getting his belt, his Scottish belt, because he won the Scottish title. So we were speaking back and forth, and then obviously he went to watch the boxing while I was getting warmed up. But yeah, Corey's a nice guy.
He's a laugh, Corey. I've known him since he was a kid, and he's always so easy Aussie about boxing.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you told him he was fighting Terence Crawford, he'd just be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You know,
no worries.
no worries. He's so laid back. And he was talking to me, and I was going to ask you the same question about when he applied for his license. What was it like for you when you applied for your license? Did you have to go and get interviewed by the Board of Control, or?
Yeah, so I had to go down to Glasgow for mine, and, you know, you're sitting in this room, heap of officials, like, why should we let you turn pro? And then, you know, you're sitting there by yourself, and I'm going, well, I've won a lot of things in the amateurs. I feel like it's time to turn over, but you're only 18. Why do you want to turn pro at 18?
I thought that would be
that was like their main concern. Right,
yeah.
Why should we let you box at such a young age? You're fighting men, you do know that. And I was like, yeah, but I've sparred grown men since the age of 14. I can hold my own. I'm like, okay. And then the more I was putting my point across, they were okay. But I said, you know, I feel like my style is suited to the pro game. Like, everyone says that. And I was like, okay. Next point. But no, I didn't have a problem with my meeting with them. You know, after it, they were like, yeah, that's fine. We're going to allow you. So, you know, it wasn't a problem at all.
I mean, I think you know, even though you were a youth boxer, you're experienced as a youth boxer, and do you think they probably get people who just come in that haven't had a fight?
Well, that's the thing. So before, when I was doing my meeting, people could come from white collar boxing.
Oh my goodness, right.
And they were like, yeah, I want to turn pro. And they'd be allowed to. But now, you know, they've tightened up now. They're like, no, you can't do that now. You need to win something or have a lot of experience and stuff. So they've really clamped up. But yeah, before you could be like white collar or unlicensed and yeah, I would turn pro. Yeah, go ahead, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the white collar thing. I mean, it's a bit of fun and all, but I don't think you could compare that to pro boxing, real pro boxing.
Oh, no way.
You know?
No, I feel like it's sometimes it's just a street fight with gloves on. But, you know, sometimes it can be quite dangerous as well if they're matched up wrong. Because there's been a few times where there's been guys that are completely different weights. Some have had experience, some haven't. And you're just thinking, this could go wrong.
And you know, actually in the white collar boxing, there's a lot of former experienced amateurs
that's the thing.
sneaking into it.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely diabolical.
It's really unfair. You know, you've
It's
got
totally
a
unfair.
guy try to raise money, and then little does he know, this guy's had like 15 amateur fights. He goes in the ring. You know, it's a shame.
Well, my brother was going to do it. He was going to do it, and he came to train with me, and he was unfit at the time. And I said to him, I said, you know, Tommy, who else is in the group, like, that's around about your weight? And he says, well, there's only one other guy there that's my weight. I said, what's he like? He's a bodybuilder. I was like, Tommy, man, you're really unfit. And the only other guy there is like built like a tank, you know? Mm-hmm. He would have got matched up with him though. That's the way it would have gone. Mm-hmm. It would have been very unfair.
Yeah. So, I've had a few guys in my gym, and, you know, they'll go to the sessions, go into the sparring, like knock everyone out, and they'll be like, oh, I'm feeling good. I'm like, but you're just about to get put in with someone that's probably had experience. And then he goes in, he's fighting the next amateur boxer, and then he ends up getting beat. And you're just like, you know, it is unfair sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes they are matched up really good, you know? And then, you know, it is a good night for some of them.
Speaking of good nights, what would you say has been the most memorable nights you've had? Memorable fights?
Definitely my debut.
Debut.
I don't think that'll ever be topped. I mean, obviously.
Oh, it will
actually,
be.
yeah.
It will be,
it could
definitely
be topped. But I think from, you know, just being an 18-year-old, going into the ballroom, sold out venue, everyone screaming your name, you know, it's a lot to take in, especially because I've never had that before. You know, before it was just maybe fighting in a hotel or fighting in a little hall. You just got people clapping in that, and you actually feel the room. You know, like, it's crazy.
What was the engagement like with the fans after that? You must have got a lot more attention immediately after that, your first pro bout.
Yeah, well, after that, you know, you see the followers on your social media go up. Like, once I came out of the ring, you know, everyone's just surrounding you. But what I do is, after my fight, I like to go around everyone, table by table, all the people that have got just standing seats, and just thank them for coming. Because, you know, they're hard-earned money, and they're coming to watch me. You know, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, it's an honour, you know, to have people actually coming and wanting to watch. But you're putting on the entertainment.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing. I'd rather, everyone's like, oh, why are you not getting a first round knockout? I'm like, okay. But, like, I'd rather watch 4 rounds of someone boxing beautifully, and, you know, you're paying £100.
You're a
it's
purist.
gone,
You're a purist. You obviously, like, you love the fight game and you can appreciate it. Some crowds love a knockout, though. You know, they just
oh yeah. I mean,
I'd
love a knockout, but I'd like, if it was like a 4-round fight, I'd like to dance around for 3 rounds and then get a knockout in the 4th round.
Yeah.
You know, you hear some of, I don't know about you when you box, but you hear some of the crowds, some of their
knock him out.
It's like, punch him in the face. Like, of course I'm going to. But
yeah, I'm trying my hardest here. I think I heard Ricky Hatton saying that about his mum. She'd be at his side screaming, knock him out. Yeah. And he'd be like, that's what I'm trying to do.
Point,
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, my nana, she comes to all my fights.
Oh my God, that must be awful for her.
Yeah,
How does she cope
hates
with
it.
that? Yeah,
she hates it. Because obviously she's seen me do football, not really violent. And she was like, she obviously seen my dad fight, but it's different. I feel like, I don't know, because I'm so close to her, I'll say, oh, this is who I'm fighting. I'll show her a photo and she'll be like, oh, he just looks like he got out of prison. And I'm like, but no, she won't watch it when she's there. But then once I come out, she's like, oh, that was so good. But she's like, you know, like that, the whole fight.
Yeah, I had to phone my granny after every time I fought. Even if it was the middle of the night, I'd have to phone her because she would sit up worrying. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'd phone her and I'd say, you know, she'd say, how did you get on? I'd be like, well, I was the runner-up. And she'd, oh, well, that's not bad then.
It's not what you want to hear, is it?
No. She would think that was second place was also good.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember I can't remember where I was, and someone was like, it was after my pro debut. No, it was my second fight. So obviously it said in the papers, like, Gregor Macpherson won second fight. And she was like, oh my God, I seen you in the paper. You came second. And I was like, sorry? And she's like, you came second. That's so good. And I was like, no, I won my second fight. But yeah, no, there's nothing worse than, you know, hearing everyone if you've lost. I mean, I remember it in amateurs. I just don't want to speak to anyone. Everyone's like, oh, you done so well. Unlucky. And you're just like, oh, shut up, please.
There's not really any words that can make you feel better. I don't think.
There's not. But like, I feel like if I got beat, my dad would be like, you done this wrong. This is what you done wrong. You done that good, but you done that wrong. And that's what I like to hear.
He's honest with you.
Yeah. And that's why we work so well. A lot of people are like, you know, is it a good idea having your dad as the coach? Yeah, I think it is. He knows me best. He knows the fights to take, you know.
I think it's a great combination. Some of the best. Joe Calzaghe, his success, it was just him and his dad, and then there was Mayweather and his dad, and then his uncle. Like you say, you can bounce off each other because you know each other so well, and you can be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I wouldn't change it. The coaches I've known for years. You know, obviously I've known my dad for forever. My other coach, Graham, who's my dad's best pal, I've known him for years as well. So he's a great coach to have. You know, he fought one of the Smith brothers in the amateurs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's, you know, a really decorated amateur as well. And my hand rapper, John, you know, I've known him for ages as well. So it's a good small team we've got, you know. I wouldn't change it.
You trust them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Trust is one of the biggest things in boxing, especially the pro game. You need trust.
When you're in the middle of a fight and they give you an instruction, you just listen and do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because what we do is we like to watch back the fights. And like, I'll remember what they're telling me. And then when I'm watching it, I'm going, they're clearly picking it up straight away. So, you know, I've got the trust in them to pick up anything I'm doing wrong or anything I could do. So, yeah.
Well, they're outside the ring and they can see it from a different angle.
Yeah, that's
I suppose.
A lot of people are like, you know, oh, it's so obvious, but I don't think they realize when you're in the fight and what someone's seeing ringside, it's two complete different things, different angles, you know, different time. So
I know, and often, I mean, you know, you were talking about the crowd there. They're shouting instructions to you, but well, there's a couple of things. They're blazing drunk most of the time.
Yeah.
They've had a good drink. They're enjoying themselves. That's fine. But also, they're not aware possibly of how tired you are or how sore you are, or, you know, there maybe was an exchange that was a painful exchange.
Yeah.
Or, you know, anything could be happening in there that's, your coaches will know because they're with you all the time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the crowd sometimes get excited from the fights as well and turn into boxers after the event, you know?
Yeah, I know. That's a pity. So, like, future goals, Gregor, you and your team, what do you talk about as, where do you want to be? You know, what's the top?
Obviously, you want to be world champion. I think, you know, if you're a boxer, that's the main goal, you know? You want to be a world champion. But as I say, me and my team, we take it fight by fight. But the end goal would be world champion. You know, I'd love a British title as well. That'd be really cool.
The Lonsdale belt.
Yeah, that's a nice belt. Really
because
nice belt.
there isn't multiple Lonsdale belts.
Yeah, so
There's only one British title.
I'd want one of them. But yeah, I mean,
do you have it laid out though? Do you think about it in terms of, by this time next year, you need to be a contender for a British title, or, you know, 3 years from now, you're going to be looking at a European. Do you have a time scale envisaged for this?
We don't have a time scale, just purely because of my age, you know. There's absolutely no rush whatsoever. You know, you look at the age of Canelo, you know, he's winning everything, you know. He's such a good boxer. And what is he, mid-30s? So I'm only 19. So if I was to look into next year, it would be, can I go undefeated next year? Can I stay undefeated? Can I get a good few wins, maybe a few knockouts, get my name into possible contenders, you know? So yeah, that's the plan. There's no rush whatsoever.
If you had to pick a boxer at the top of your division, and there's some big names that we mentioned earlier, to fight for a world title, who would you like to fight? I mean, these guys will be gone probably by the time you're up there, but out of them, who would you pick to fight?
I think Gervonta Davis he's probably one of the biggest names just now. You know, he is unreal. Power, speed. So
he surprised me in that Ryan Garcia fight. I was on Garcia's team there.
Yeah,
I thought Garcia was going to win that, but Tank, he showed his ability.
Very strong. Timing as well. Timing was perfect.
Timing was great.
But like you say, he's fast. You know, he's a good boxer. A lot of people, you know, discredit him sometimes. But, you know, who was he against? Luke Campbell?
Yeah.
Put Luke Campbell away. You know, them left hooks are brutal. Or right hooks, I can't remember. But anyway, the speed that Ryan Garcia has, that's hard to deal with, and Davis, made it look easy with some of them shots.
Had him figured out.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely Davis.
Would you like to be in the ring with Vasyl Lomachenko?
Don't know if I'd like it, but no, I'd really like that. Yeah.
He would be my worst nightmare.
I mean, he's always moving. He's so unpredictable, but if you're able to share,
isn't he?
Yeah, if you're able to share the ring with him, it'd be unbelievable.
You mentioned Luke Campbell. He actually did very well against Lomachenko.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, I think he's quite underrated as well. He's fought a lot of good guys, but like you say, Lomachenko, he's just built different. Some of the training methods, just his movement, shot selection, it's unbelievable. Like if you watch the highlights of him throughout his career, it's just mind blowing. Really good.
And his Olympic record was insane as well.
Yeah, him and Usyk. Usyk had a good record as well, I'm pretty sure.
Is it an amateur? Yeah.
But yeah, he won a lot of things in amateurs.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a great amateur Olympic story for you. I met Dick McTaggart. Did you ever meet Dick McTaggart?
I've never met him, but Frank speaks about him all the time.
Yeah, he used to go about to amateur shows around Scotland.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening, go and Google Dick McTaggart. He was the Olympic gold medal winner in 1956.
Yeah.
Anyway, he won the Val Barker Trophy, which was the trophy given to the best boxer at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to the 1960 Olympics. And anyway, I seen him in a show in Dundee, and I was talking to him, and I said, Dick, you must have met Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And he says, no. Muhammad Ali met me. Because the thing was, Dick McTaggart was the best fighter in the world at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody because at the previous Olympics, he was crowned as the best boxer in the world. And I thought that's amazing. Like people actually came looking for him to meet him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Have you seen his amateur record?
Yeah, I have.
It was like 600 and odd fights.
Unbelievable.
I know, 20 losses.
Yeah, mental.
It's unbelievable.
I only had 16 fights, so having that much is crazy.
It's a wonder you would never go pro after 600
I know.
amateur fights.
Yeah.
Probably would have been good enough.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
I know.
All right. Who's the best amateur you've ever come across?
There's been a few. So I went over to Portugal and I fought the All-Irish champion at the time. His name's Clepson dos Santos. So he was actually at the last Commonwealth Games. He was really good, very technical. So he's probably up there. The guy I got beat in the British, Hamza Udin, he's really good. I don't know when he's making his pro debut, but he's won a lot of things in amateurs.
What sort of problems does he present?
Which one, Hamza or Clepson?
Yeah, Hamza.
Hamza was quite explosive, because I was really raw at the time. Only had like 5 fights. I wasn't really sure how to tackle that. But obviously, it was actually quite a close fight. There was a 3-2 split decision. But like I've followed him, through the amateur career. He's picking up elite titles, British titles, so he was improving every time. But even from then, from a young kid, he was really good, really explosive, good shot selection, in and out of distance. It was quite hard to fight. But yeah, he was probably one of my toughest.
Okay. What about people around you? I mean, is there anybody that asks you about what your route was into the pros? Would you give any advice to anyone else who's thinking about taking the same route as you have?
Most people ask about the amateur side. I'm like, oh, how do I, get better to get to that pro level? And it's honestly, you need to sacrifice a lot of things. A lot of people think that they can do the things they love. I'll miss training tonight. I can just train another day. But like taking them sacrifices. I've never drank before, never smoked. Didn't go to parties when I was younger. And like for what people would say, oh, that's boring. But it's got me where I am now. I've still got a long way to go, but that sacrifice I made growing up, like as a teenager, I wouldn't change it looking back at it now. No. I'm glad I done it, So, and I still don't drink, don't smoke, don't go out and party. I've never been out in town in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So
I totally don't blame you, and it's not boring. For someone who's never experienced the feeling of stepping into the square circle,
yeah.
they have no idea how exciting that is. That's an incredibly exciting and fun thing to do. Way more fun than drinking alcohol.
Yeah, it motivates me as well, knowing that while I'm in the gym training, other people are slacking, you know. They're out drinking with their friends, having fun, but I'm doing things that I don't necessarily want to be doing, but I know that's what's going to separate me from them. Now, there's nothing wrong with obviously going out and having fun with your pals, but if you want to go to the next level, you really need to make some sacrifices that you don't want to make, you know?
I agree. I know I've heard the argument before many times that boxing's a dangerous sport, you know, but when you think about it, the way you're talking about it, it's probably one of the best things for your health you could ever do, because you're at an absolute peak of fitness because of boxing. You know, you're sacrificing alcohol and smoking and partying, things that are probably not great for you. Well, having fun with your friends is fun, right? But the having things go into your body like drugs, alcohol, those are the things that get forgotten about when people say that boxing's a dangerous sport.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
it's probably saving a lot of lives.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like the same as people's mental health, you know. I feel like boxing is one of the best things for mental health. You know, if you're not feeling great, go in the boxing gym, try hit the bag, hit the pads, do a bit of sparring. I bet you'll feel better when you come out. I've got a lot of people that come into my gym and, you know, they might struggle with mental health. See, after an hour session doing boxing, they're like, oh, what a stress relief. You know, it's amazing what, you know, a sport can do.
Let me tell you, see, when you're like absolutely exhausted, you don't have time to think about anything to worry about. You
Too tired.
takes your mind off of it. You're like, your new worry is just getting your next breath of air in.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're doing like, you know, rounds upon rounds of pads and sparring. You know, as you say, you don't have the time. You're just thinking,
No.
how am I going to get my next breath?
Right, Gregor, I'm going to ask the last couple of questions here. And I always like to ask everyone this, right? So if you were me and you were doing a podcast and you could have any guest in the world, dead or alive, to speak to, who would it be? And what would you talk about?
Matty Lusher. Nah.
Matty.
I'd have probably Triple G, Gennady Golovkin.
Right.
He's my favourite boxer. So I'd have him.
What would you like to ask him about?
Probably just, you know, his upbringing, how he went into a fight, what did he think? And, you know, just quite a lot of boxing related things. You know, what did he do warming up to a fight? How did he control his emotions going into the fight, during the fight? If something wasn't going his way, how did he change it? Just little things like that. Because I feel like, you know, he's got to be up there for one of the greats.
He gets talked about as a guy that doesn't look like a boxer.
Yeah, when he's got his shirt on,
He's
and
got his shirt
trousers,
on, and he just looks like such a normal, ordinary guy. But he would tear you to shreds if you got in a fight with him.
It was like, I think I was watching a video. It was 35 fights, 35 fights, 35 wins, 32 by knockout. And in the past 8 years, he's knocked out every opponent. Like, crazy.
It's such a high knockout rate.
If you're hearing that from the other side of the ring, you're just bricking it.
How did he get so good?
Just must have trained like hell. Discipline, motivation, you know.
Yeah. Well, Gregor, when are we going to see you out next then? What do you think?
I'm hoping maybe the start of 2024. That's when I'm planning. I'd hope to be back to full fitness by then. Training's already started. I'm also doing some other things on the side, you know, like with Matty, doing a lot of stuff on YouTube and that. So,
well, so I want to ask you just as well for the viewers, where can they find you?
So I've got TikTok.
What's your TikTok account called?
Gregor_Macpherson.
Okay.
Then I've got my Instagram, Gregor Macpherson. I think it's Gregor.Macpherson. Then obviously my YouTube, that's just Gregor Macpherson. So they're the three main platforms I use.
Okay, so and people can go on there and they can see your fights on YouTube.
They can see my fights on YouTube. They can see different videos like, you know, the run up to my fight, Q&A, how well do my coaches know me. We just shot that video, me and Mai did. So that'll be out on Monday. But yeah, there's plenty of things on YouTube. And then on Instagram, heaps of things, whether it's boxing or just lifestyle. So yeah,
okay,
plenty of things.
Well, Gregor, listen, thank you so much for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I wish you all the very best in your next fight, and I'll be watching along and cheering you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.